What's good? A little bit of spice in the morning. Do a mic check, mic check. America needs to sit down on the couch. That will be the first topic for today, and then whatever the hell else I want to talk about. That's the beauty. That's the beauty of just being able to go live and go to your basement. You can talk about whatever the hell you want to talk about until YouTube strikes you down. Good morning. Let me do that sound check. And then we'll get started. Tory Mafia. Yeah, we ready. Let's get it. In the halls of Congress, we had a shouting match. This one was more substantial than the last major shouting match I remember was Cori Bush and MTG during the height of the pandemic, somewhat, over masks. I guess MTG wasn't wearing her mask. She wasn't, I don't know if she had her mask on or off or whatever. Cori Bush was yelling. Remember that? That did happen. There's a lot of stuff that happened that we kind of, I don't know, maybe it's just me, kind of like forget that it actually happened. Y'all remember like the whole pandemic, that thing did happen where they told people to stay inside their homes and some people were washing their groceries. That did happen. And now we have another shouting match. This one at least is more productive. I don't think it is as bad as some people are making it sound it to be. But if you don't know, this is what happened in the halls of Congress. There's two different videos. Here's the first video. I think it's important to note with these videos, I'm going to show they're short clips of, somewhat short clips of Jamaal Bowman getting into it with Thomas Massie. I actually thought it was a healthy interaction. Yeah, hands were touched on people, but Jamaal Bowman is about my age, I think. I'm guessing because he's a hip-hop guy, Wu-Tang, all that. He probably grew up with hip-hop just like me. He's a New York guy. So let me look at his age real quick. I bet he's about my age. Yep, 46. I'm 45. And I know it looked, maybe for some people it looked bad. He was not, I don't think, this was not an interaction where I thought hands might go. So I'm going to play it here in a second. But I don't think this is where I want to set that out first because I don't want to make it sound like I'm making it sound like Jamaal Bowman was going to put hands on anybody. I don't think like to let hands free. He put hands on them, but it was more like it was just a heated discussion. It wasn't to me like I'm going to throw on you or something like that. But I'll just play it and let you decide. Here we go. I think this is the first clip, which would be a good one to show. Things got heated. This is over the Battle of 2A.
Children at all, cowards, pressure them, force them to respond to the question, why the hell won't you do anything to save America's children? And let them explain that all the way up until election day of 2024. Let them explain it all the way up to election day on 2024. They're freaking cowards. They're gutless. They're not here. I'm talking about gun violence.
You know, there's never been
I'm talking about gun
in
violence.
a school that allows teachers to carry.
Carry guns?
Would you
More guns lead to
co-sponsor?
more death.
Would you co-sponsor
More
that?
guns lead to more death. Look at the data. You're not looking at any data. You're carrying the water from the gun lobby. Look at the data. More guns lead to more deaths. States that have open carry laws have more death. States that have open carry laws have more death. Are you listening to what I'm saying? Calm down, children are dying. 9-year-old children. Because the solution is not arming teachers. Have you ever worked in a school? 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 Listen, yes or no question. Have you ever worked in a school? You will not answer my question. Don't stop and talk to me. Okay, I'll bring it down a notch.
All right, folks.
Have you ever worked in a school?
I've got a bill to repeal the
I
federal...
worked in the school for 20 years.
You're just screaming.
I was a teacher. I was screaming before you came and interrupted me.
That's true.
I worked in the school for 20 years. So I worked in school 20 years.
In every school,
I was a
that
teacher,
allows
I was a
teachers to
school
carry.
counselor, I was a middle school principal. I was in cafeterias
Every
protecting
school that
kids
allows
every day of
teachers
my
to carry,
career.
there's never
Clown.
been a shooting.
Clown.
Never
You can't
been
even
a
answer yes or
shooting.
no question.
It's time.
Ask
Look,
them.
we've got
Why
guns
won't they
here to
pass
protect us.
legislation? Why? Ask them
And
the
we
question.
believe the
Ask
kids
them
should
right
have
now.
somebody
Make
to
your man.
protect them. Every school that's allowed it has never had a shooting. Not even an accidental discharge in any of the schools. So.
Congressman, just say it's always
Yeah, absolutely. Next week, I'm reintroducing.
I'm here for it. I think it was healthy. I have no problem with it at all. There was it didn't cross any lines. I never once thought Jamaal Bowman, and Jamaal Bowman at one point said, I was yelling before you came through. He was absolutely correct. He was yelling at a camera doing the interview, the theatrics, but maybe that's real. I don't know if you can really act like that. I think he actually felt that way, Jamaal Bowman. I could be wrong. So he was yelling to the cameras, theatrics, and then Thomas Massey was passing by, and he's like, "What's your dumbass yelling about?" Which I don't blame. He didn't say that. I'm making up I'm paraphrasing. Allegedly, whatever. Not even allegedly. He walked by, and in my impression, he was like, "What you sound like an idiot right now. What are you yelling about?" But he said it in a different, one more diplomatic way. But I think that's a healthy. I'm here for it. That's what they should be doing. They should be debating. They should be discussing things. But I really think, and I see a therapist, and one of the things that it's really important, in my opinion. If you don't have to see a therapist, you can talk to a friend or whatever. I think you need to, in my opinion, you need to work out your body just like you work out your mind, just like you work out your body. It doesn't have to be with a therapist, of course, but whoever you do that with, or however you do that, whether it's meditation, prayer, whatever, faith, I think you've got to get to the core of the issue. For example, in a marriage, if there's an argument over taking out the trash or something like, and just making something up, it's something frivolous. There's usually something deeper underneath there that needs to be worked out. And what you see there is basically our country all needs to get on a big couch and sit down and figure out there are core issues that are a problem that have nothing to do with 2A. That's, if you don't know, I bring it up all the time, but if you don't know what a man and a woman is, then forget about 2A. You can't talk about anything. There's nothing you can talk about if you live in a household and you and your spouse don't agree on what a woman is or a man is. You can't balance a budget, can't talk about protection, security. You can't talk about anything because fundamentally you are in different worlds. There was a different view of this, though. I don't want to lose the humor in here. I thought this was a funny one. This is a different angle of the same incident. And there's a woman that walks in the middle. She walks between them in the middle of this. And I thought it was hilarious because it's almost like I was at the airport and I saw, unfortunately, not funny, but people were, it was a man and a woman getting into kind of like a dispute, and it's awkward when you're doing that in public. So I kind of like, yeah, it's kind of cringe. But look at this. This woman walks in between them, which is hilarious to me. About halfway through their argument, was it even an argument? I guess it was an argument. You could call it that. I almost don't even want to call it an argument. It was a debate, I would say. A healthy debate. So in the middle of their healthy debate, this woman walks in between them, and I thought it was hilarious. You couldn't see it from the other angle as well. So I like this. I don't know who this is here, but he came in and he tried to, because Jamaal Bowman was already amped up, and then Thomas Massey comes in and gets him more amped up, and he's just kind of like, it's okay, Jamaal, just calm down. That was good. That was good here. And then this woman, she couldn't walk around them. Like, she had nowhere else to. She had to walk through them while they were arguing. I thought this was hilarious. This woman, I don't know who it is, just randomly walks in between them. Excuse me. This is awkward. That's my favorite part. There's always like a stupid part of a clip that's my favorite part. And then Jamaal Bowman even looks at her and smiles like, did you have no other path to get where you were going? Or I don't know if that was a passive aggressive, like he's smiling at her, because I don't know if that was a passive aggressive, like trying to separate them, because that's how they act in DC. Like you saw it in the other view, there was plenty of space to walk around. You didn't have to walk in between them. I don't know what that was. I thought that was hilarious. This is me when people in public are arguing and it's cringe. But Democrats, I believe, have this bill, and the bill is to debate. East Coast Temple, appreciate you for the comment, says she had an ain't my problem attitude. That was, yeah, she was kind of like, this ain't, she was like, my name Bennett and I ain't in it. Like but why did she walk in between them though? That was kind of funny to me. But I think the Democrats are putting together a bill to find out, kind of like they'd always do these type of bills, which is, I think I haven't read the bill, so that's a big important thing. But in theory, their bill is to find out why there's these shootings. Okay, well, the shootings in the inner cities all over the place. Why don't you do a bill on that? You had the whole Black Lives Matter movement, and the inner city shootings aren't about black people, but a lot of black people live in them, and that's where you guys claim there's a lot of marginalized people. I haven't seen any push for any bill there. See toddlers, kids, young adults, 16, 17, 15, 9, 10, 13, carjacking, gack, banging, all that kind of stuff. I didn't see no bill to figure that out. So I think there needs to be some type of consistency. So I'm all for a bill to research, I'm not even in the mood. I've done some videos on 2A. Maybe I'll clip what I've already said. I am not in the mood to argue 2A. I'm not arguing 2A anymore. I just don't want to do it anymore. I'll clip like old stuff because there's nothing else that needs to be said. The Second Amendment's very simple, very clear. And if you want to look at this issue of violence with guns, then you got to do it with the 2A in mind. That is your boundary. You don't get to just do whatever you want to do outside the Constitution. The Constitution gives the right to carry, that gives the right to trans, black, white, whatever identity they make up tomorrow. You get 2A rights as long as you don't break any other laws. And I don't care if Randy Weingarten, I don't care what she has to say about it. I don't care what Michael Moore has to say about it. Randy Weingarten basically said she wanted to repeal the Second Amendment. I'm not going to argue it. I'm just going to show the asinine comments here. Like there are boundaries to, if you want to solve problems, there are boundaries. No different than a budget. If you don't have the money if you need to get transportation to get around from point A to point B for work or whatever the case is, and you can't afford a car, then that's your boundary. You're going to have to take the bus. Or if you can afford the bus, if not, you're going to have to walk or figure it out, carpool. You have boundaries in life, and these people don't respect boundaries. Here's Randy Weingarten.
An epidemic that our great nation must solve. And how many lives will be shattered before we have the courage to do what Scotland did, what Australia did, what New Zealand did, what other great democracies do? We must solve this epidemic.
Okay.
And that's up to us.
I see.
An epidemic that our great nation must solve.
Okay.
And how many lives will be shattered before?
They're so good at, they just pull on your heartstrings, and it's, if you don't know what's going on, you're like, yes, how do we save this? How do we solve this? And your heart is poured out. And then you
have the
wait for the okie doke. Courage to do what?
To do what Scotland did.
Oh, so what she's saying is you have the courage to abolish, just ignore the Constitution. That's what she's really saying. She didn't even propose an amendment. If you want to amend it, you can. You don't have the votes. It's not going to happen. That's why they don't bring that up. The courage to do what Scotland did. Would we looking at Scotland as an example for democracy or representative republic? We're looking at Scotland. We're looking at Australia.
Australia did, what New Zealand did, what other great democracies.
Other great democracies do. We're looking at them. So they start with your heartstrings, and we look at other great democracies like who? There is no better democracy than the United States of America, if you want to call it democracy. I know just bear with me on that. There is no other great democracy. We are the great democracy. So they pull on your heartstrings, and then they use it as a tool to bring in, oh, we just want to do this. And they will eventually do that. As soon as they get their people on the Supreme Court, it's a wrap. And what I mean by that is the younger generation. Younger generation's coming up, and before you know it, they'll be on the court. If you look at the great democracy she's talking about, here's Australia, the great democracy that she's touting.
A radical plan to crack down on social media abuse is being considered by the federal government. For more, Nine's Oliver Haig joins us live in Adelaide. Ollie, how will it work?
Layla, good morning. Essentially, it will work the same as a passport. Australians forced to submit 100 points of identification, like their driver's licence or passport, when using social media accounts like Facebook and Twitter. Now, police would have access to those social media accounts, and it's all part of a crackdown on online abuse. Now, users could be liable for defamation suits or even criminal prosecution, and it's all part of a plan hoping to deter people from engaging in bad behaviour. Now, the recommendations were handed down by a federal parliamentary inquiry. They're reforms that are being considered by the Morrison government, with the chairman saying there is merit to remove the veil of being anonymous. Layla?
Oh, not to mention the other stuff. Sorry, I had the mute on. Not to mention the other. So this is the great democracy. Hands around the throat. Don't wear a mask. Not to mention the other problems with Australia. No thanks. Thank you, but no thanks. I'm good. I'm good, Randy. I know that there are some negatives that come with protecting every single one of our rights. One of the negatives is I can call you whatever I want to call you. And I don't care if you're trans or this or that. You'd probably get fired from your job, or you won't get a job, or there are consequences, but I won't be put in jail. Or shouldn't be. That's one of the things that bothers me with this whole thing. We talked about the incident, but it's bigger than that. We talk about the incident and these pronouns. I don't have to call. I can call you whatever the hell I want to call you. It could be consequences if I call the Rock Johnson whatever I want to call him. There could be hands thrown on me, and I could get that beat down. I'm not saying they're not consequences, but one of them should not be government retaliation or imprisonment or censorship. So if I want to call Dwayne The Rock Johnson a she, then I can call him a she. That's the First Amendment. Second Amendment, if a trans right person wants to go online and show off their 2A weapon, go ahead and do it. As long as you're not breaking any laws. Got no problem with that. I never said 2A was just for one person or one type or one ideology. Go ahead. So there's positives and negatives. I'm going to take a turn here, and this is part of it. A lot of people don't understand the positives and negatives of the First Amendment. This is just some random person on TikTok, I don't know, and I'm not even really talking about she's going to be in a two-piece bikini. That's not even really the point. But this person says, and this is the reason as to why I and to so many other women hate themselves and their bodies. Come on, Madison Beer, whoever the hell that is, this person in the two-piece. Do better. No, you are a good person, but you know that you have a lot of young girls comparing themselves to you through you were better and different from this. I guess thought you were better and different from this. So it's fine. You can give the feedback, and I'm not going against this person who had the comment, but it doesn't just go with trans or 2A or whatever. There's no problem. I understand it could be a filter, it could be whatever, and she's talking about body, shaming type of stuff like, you're seeing images of women who are very, very thin. What does that show to young women? Is that something to strive for? Is no different than the videos where they're obese and overweight and unhealthy. There's no difference. You can do that. That's the First Amendment. And you don't have to like it, but you don't have to watch it. And this reply from, this is someone I follow on Twitter here. And let me get the reply from Denisha Carter. She just has a lot of base takes. I don't even know what she's like a Instagram model or something like that. I don't even know what she is, but she has a lot of base takes. And she says, Madison Beer does not have to stop participating in activities we all participate in, wearing bikinis and posting on social media just because you are insecure. Your feelings are yours to sort out, unless she was actually doing something to you. And that doesn't even matter as long as it was legal. So this is important discussion to have. And this is a whole different topic, but it's the same debate that we're having on everything in our country. Same debate on everything. Your feelings are yours to sort out. So we talk about the manifesto for don't even need to go to this last incident, we never had a problem with the manifestos coming out before, if you can trust them that they're not SIA tweaked or whatever. I don't trust them, but still, we still got them released on. I never heard a problem of a manifesto being released. Maybe I'm missing one. My man, Nick Rekieta, does the unbreaded. I forget which one was that. There's so many incidents. I don't even remember which one this one was. But I think he quotes from, I don't know if it's the manifesto, but it's like writings of one of the crazy people that did one of these things. And we never had any problem with that stuff coming out before. And all of a sudden people are saying, well, I don't want it to come out because of this or that. No, your feelings are yours to sort out. That should not affect, we're crossing boundaries now. Your feelings, you need to work out your feelings. It has nothing to do with whether a manifesto should be released or not. And that's the core thing there. And they're still going after J6ers. Believe it or not, man. This D.C. Prosecutor, this D.C. attorney they're touting it, man. They're happy about it. They're not done. This thing happened 2 years ago. We're still looking at this. People who didn't even go inside. D.C. Attorney Matthew Graves refuses to prosecute 67% of all arrests, including 52% of all felonies. Again, there are articles on this, but I've been going through this debate where I'm like, dang, I use Twitter for like all my references, but it's better. I mean, it's better than using Washington Post. Who would I rather big up, Washington Post or Greg Price? It's no brainer. Back to Greg Price. Greg Price, D.C. Attorney Matthew Graves refuses to prosecute. So this is that thing that we're seeing with the DAs, where, in my opinion, what they're doing is they want to rise into power, and they don't want anybody to go back like people go back to Kamala Harris and say, you locked up a lot of these people with this color or whatever on marijuana or whatever the case is. She was still able to rise up, but it's going to be harder for these prosecutors to rise up if they don't have a virtue signal to the wokeness. If you're a prosecutor, especially defense attorney, whatever, but it seems to be prosecutors that move up. So they want to be able to say, I was a prosecutor and I was a prosecutor for change. I was a prosecutor. I was a DEI prosecutor. That's where all this madness is coming from. And that's why they're letting people out and all that, because they can say, oh, I let people out. I wasn't a part of this oppressor group that hurt marginalized communities. And there's different, I think George Soros might have different reasons to be involved, but you see the interests converge. George Soros might want chaos. I don't know. Allegedly, I don't know what he wants. Maybe he could do an interview and tell me what he wants. But he might want chaos. That is a possibility. And the DAs might want to rise up, and they don't want to be accused of being oppressors. So you see their interests converge, and that's how this happens. And I'm not saying he's a DA. I don't even know if he's a Soros guy or not. I'm just saying in general. Matthew, I've never heard of him before. Matthew Graves refuses to prosecute 67% of all arrests, 52% of all felonies. We saw Alvin Bragg not prosecuting a lot of stuff, but except trying to go after the president. Meanwhile, he recently bragged about how his office is going to prosecute 1,000 more J6 defenders, all of which are low-level offenses committed by people with no criminal record. And the trans groups are the ones talking about a day of this and a day of that. I'm all for peace, but there might be other groups that need a day of something. And not in the streets. I mean, going down to your local state legislative bodies and saying, we need a day of secession. We need a day of divorce. That's the peaceful route. Do we see that now? Are we seeing that now? Because a lot of people, maybe people in the chat have seen it. A lot of people haven't been feeling me on that. Like, oh, if you go to secession, it's going to be, oh my gosh, all this violence is going to happen. Have you seen what's happening now? We're on the path to violence. The secession is not causing any violence. If I'm in a marriage and I want to leave and that causes violence, that means I should have left yesterday. Yeah, it could go down that route, but it shouldn't. And I'm not looking to go down that route. So if it does, then that's on somebody else. Here's the article from the Jeff Bezos News. DC attorney, I promise you it's not MPD holding the bag on this. That's BS. So the police are like, what are we supposed to do? We're arresting these people and they're not even charging them. Man, they have so much power. In the most recent complete fiscal year, that's showing the receipts of that, the fiscal year 2022 continued a trend of higher and higher decline rates that began in fiscal 2028 post-Trump, continued under both Trump and Biden administration appointees. I'm going to get to Trump in a second. This probably really should have been my headline. I'm going to get to Trump in a second and his comments on Christopher Wray. I don't know if you heard that. I'm going to get to that man in a second. And so it continued under Trump, and it went from 31% in fiscal year 2016 to 48%. That's when all the wokeness got really hard. Federal prosecutors say 1,000 more people could be arrested in connection with J6. Take a look at that. Matthew Graves, the U.S. attorney in D.C., sent a letter to the chief judge of the Washington federal court warning that the Department of Justice could charge another 700 to 1,200. They just looking about right now. They're just looking like if you looked at D.C. on a map on J6, you might get hemmed up. You might get a knock on your door. If you even thought about it. Imagine if they had Neuralink. Imagine if they had Neuralink and of course the government would commandeer that. if you even thought about J6 in the week before or the week after, we knocking on your door. And that's an exaggeration, that's hyperbole, but if they could, they would. That's not hyperbole. They would absolutely do that. If there's no limit. When you don't set boundaries, there are no boundaries. Before I get to Trump, I am going to go to Jack Posavec. I was disappointed in Jack here. Didn't like this, Jack. I know you have beef with the Libertarians. This is a very short. I know you have beef with the Libertarians, Jack, but don't give credit where credit is due. Greg Price, this TikTok bill, I don't even know where it's at now. Have we seen the vote on it? Last I looked yesterday, there was no vote from the House on it. But I think I heard Ian say that the House voted on it. I didn't see that. I did not see the House vote on it. I don't know. Where's the TikTok bill at? Got to look that up again. Maybe I was looking at the wrong bill. But Jack Posavec gave credit to Greg Price, the Greg Price that I just showed the tweet from there. He gave Greg Price credit for potentially stopping the TikTok bill from going through. He said basically, and he's trying to big up his boy. I don't mind that at all. But let's be fair here, Jack. Greg Price did a thread, not a thread, it was just a quick post on it. It wasn't even really a thread. Greg Price, so here's the tweet from Jack. Jack said he wanted to big up his boy. Did Greg Price single-handedly kill the Restrict Act? And I was like, I don't know if my thread went through, but if you look at the Greg Price post, that's not true. It was actually the Libertarian Party, Mises Caucus, that did it. Mises Caucus had a big thread on the Restrict Act before anybody else that I saw with it. And credit to everybody who's speaking on it. I mean, my point of this is Jack has beef with the Libertarians. The Libertarians came at Jack sideways on Trump, which I knocked them for. It was a bad move. Everybody makes mistakes. But they were based here. They were right here. Don't give credit to Greg Price for single-handedly stopping the TikTok bill. There was a lot of people talking about it. And if you're going to give Greg Price credit, in Greg Price's own tweet, and see, I didn't like this either. Greg Price retweeted it and still didn't give credit to the Mises Caucus. Now, he did give credit to the Mises Caucus in the first thread, but, you know, MAGA's really kind of scared about the Mises Caucus and the Libertarians because they can steal MAGA votes. They absolutely could steal MAGA votes. But at least Greg in his original thread gave credit to Mises Caucus. I don't have the link here. I'm not going to look for it right now. But in his thread, he said, shout out to the Mises Caucus. Much respect to Greg for that. But when you retweet that from Jack, you got to give them credit again. Mises Caucus was the one I think that blew that up from what I saw on Twitter. But shout out to everybody who was a part of it. And shame on you, Jack. Because Jack knows who really blew that up. He just doesn't want to give shout out to Libertarian. Republicans, MAGA is more scared of Libertarians than the traditional Republican Party. Because MAGA and Libertarians have more overlap than traditional Republicans and Libertarians. Traditional Republicans hate Libertarians because they steal votes. Steal, what does that mean? And that's not a thing. But they in their eyes, they steal votes. But MAGA are really concerned. Because Steve Bannon's like, end the Fed. Libertarian Party's like, you want to end the Fed? We way more about that life than y'all. Just come on over. Maybe that's a good transition to go into, before I go into Pappy. I think the topic on Trump is actually going to be a good thing. I am going to knock Trump very hard here, but I'm not against Trump, and I'll give you my takeaway on that, why it's not a bad thing. But on the topic of authoritarianism, Libertarian Party, looking at this, there was a tweet that happened yesterday that was a good example of, I was like, I don't think people fully understand what's happening. So you look at Tennessee, and I don't want this to come across the wrong way, so let me pause because I'm trying to do two things at one time. Let me make sure I'm clear on this. There obviously, the tragedy that happened in Nashville is unacceptable. Nothing else needs to be said about that. Separate from that, when the bill that Matt Walsh and many people in the chat probably agree with, Hotep representing, what's up, Ken and Hotep? Appreciate you, man, stopping by. Everybody else, yeah, I don't know how the mute monster got me that time. I don't know how that happened, but moving along. What you're seeing is the bill, many people in the chat and all that agree with it. I disagree with it because I'm more on the side of liberty. If a parent and a child go to a doctor and they want something that's called gender affirming care or mutilation, whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter what it's labeled, it's something that they're going to a doctor for. To me, it's the same as you going to a doctor for a treatment like the eye drug that they won't even really let you talk about. It's none of your business. It's a safe drug. It's between you and the doctor. My point is, the Matt Walsh bill, he did great work. I like Matt Walsh a lot, but that is authoritarian to step into a relationship between a parent, child, and a doctor. If there's any problems, they can go sue. You don't need the government to be in the. If the doctors aren't doing good things with this gender affirming care, then they won't have any business. There's no need for the government to get involved with that. They'll be sued. They'll stop doing it. I don't care if you think it's bad. I don't care. You know, we look at the pictures with the forearm all disheveled because they want to make a banana on. That's yes, I agree. It's demonic. You can be demonic. They ain't got nothing to do with me, as long as you don't try to teach it to my kids. So my point is, when you do authoritarian acts like Brandon, nothing but, hey, you've got to take this jab or whatever, you're going to see authoritarian acts in return. And the Libertarian Party has the path to steal, if you want to say that, voters from both sides, to say, you all are playing a game of chicken. This group wants to have authority, abolish 2A or whatever. This group wants to get in the relationship between a parent, kid, and a doctor. You guys are having a collision crash. That's why you have a trans day of action now. And then you're going to have this other day of action now. Libertarian Party has the path to say, both of y'all from all these sides, if you want to stop all that stuff, liberty's a lot easier. Peace, prosperity, decentralization, very simple. And that's why MAGA is, Jack Posobiec is very concerned about the Libertarian Party. Not that they would necessarily win, but if they take voters, then that any little bit could hurt. Let's get to Trump. There's no way to defend Trump on this. It's just not. There's just no way. It's just not possible. There's no take on this. There's no twisting it. I'm going to let you hear him, because Trump is the one talking about, I'm going to eliminate the deep state. He said that. He made the speech on the deep state and administrative state. Those are two different things in my book. But this is a 40-second clip. Not good. It's not good. Not pretty.
You happy with Chris Wray?
But just so you understand, I put Chris Wray in because I wanted to have somebody in there that everybody, including the other side, really wanted. It may not have been the right move. Let's see. Time will tell, okay? But I wanted to have somebody in the FBI because I'm an honorable guy. I'm an honest guy. I may have made a mistake, but I put somebody in that the other side, everybody agreed to. You know who recommended him to me? Chris Christie. Okay, he recommended him. And that's okay. I don't mind that. I've taken Chris Christie's recommendations before. And other people wanted Christopher Wray. And people from the other side wanted Christopher Wray.
But now
and
Jim Jordan is investigating. You happy with Chris Wray?
But just so you understand.
So he's talking about Christopher Wray, head of the FBI, and a terrible hire. For people who are on the MAGA side, the populist side, terrible hire, director of the FBI, appointed by Trump.
And I put Chris Wray in because I wanted to have somebody in there that everybody, including the other side, really wanted.
I have no problem with
It may not
this.
have been the right move.
I have no problem with this at this point. I wanted to put somebody else that, that's an admirable trait. It's one of the first things that I liked about Donald Trump, actually. Remember, after he got into office, he had that sit down with Nancy P. He had the sit down with Chuck Schumer, and they were actually trying to work stuff out. I think that was on Obamacare, if I'm not mistaken, or I forgot. They should have went with a different thing first than Obamacare, but whatever it was, they were sitting down and talking, and it was out in the open. And because he's a New York guy. Schumer's a New York guy. They're not really enemies, but now they have to be because of this whole political theater. I don't have a problem with that. I have no problem with him saying, I wanted to find somebody who had respect from all sides. That's a very admirable trait. Does that sound like they call him a Yahtzee? Does this sound like a Yahtzee to you?
Understand, I put Chris Wray in because I wanted to have somebody in there that everybody, including the other side, really wanted. It may not.
They paint this guy like he's worse than the guy with the funny mustache. They call him a Yahtzee. They call him a fascist. Even if you don't agree with him, is this the energy that a fascist has, or how they use fascists in a totally different way? But does this have the energy of a dictator to you?
I wanted to have somebody in there that everybody, including the other side, really wanted. It may not have been the right move. Let's see. Time will tell, okay? But I wanted to have somebody in the...
So that's not strong enough. If you want to get rid of... So Christopher Wray is not even administrative state. He's appointed, but administrative state for me is everyone underneath the appointees. Trump could have you can fire the appointees at any time you want to. They are not administrative state. Administrative state are the employees, 40, 50,000 of them working in the government that don't go anywhere. They stay from the Bush to the Obama. They're the same people they don't care about. They want to have more power than the president. That's the administrative state. They're anyone underneath, for FBI, anybody underneath Christopher Wray is administrative state. Deep state, the people that you don't know. You don't know the names of the deep state. You can say is a conspiracy theory if you want to call it, but they've flat out admitted the deep state exists, but you don't know the name of the deep state people, including the CIA director. That's not even deep state. Deep state's deeper than that. So most of what we talk about is administrative state. And Trump says, I want to get rid of the deep state. Bruh, how are you going to get rid of the deep state if Christopher Wray is not even administrative state and you can't even admit he was a mistake?
Everybody, including the other side, really wanted. It may not have been the right move. Let's see. Time will tell, okay? But I wanted to have somebody in the FBI because I'm an honorable guy. I'm an honest guy. I may have made a mistake, but I put somebody in that the other side, everybody agreed to, you know?
So when Trump does this stuff at rallies, the reason why I say I need him to name names is because I want to make sure he understands who the deep state is. I don't even know if he still understands it.
Either the deep state destroys America or we destroy the deep state. That's the way it's got to be. We're at a very pivotal point in our country. Either we descend into a lawless abyss of open borders, rampant killings, hyper.
So I agree with that, and here's why I'm saying this is not a negative take on Trump. I'm not voting for him because of this stuff right here. You can't call DeSantis meatball or whatever. Like, oh, I didn't want to call him meatball. They all, that funny, like the Chris Rock was like, I didn't call Will Smith a bitch, but he called him a bitch. They called him a bitch. I didn't call him a bitch. He's a bitch ass nigga. I didn't call him a bitch. No, he's talking about the meatball stuff and Ron DeSanctimonious. If you don't have a nickname for Christopher Wray, then I don't want to hear about the DeSantis stuff. If you can't admit that he was a mistake, and Trump, nobody would hold that against you. Why are you so defensive? Why are you so defensive about this? Nobody would hold it against you if you said, I wanted to do something that was respectful to both sides, and this is why you can't do that stuff I can't do this stuff anymore because he was a disaster.
There, that everybody, including the other side, really wanted. It may not have been the right move. Let's see. Time will tell.
Time will tell? The time has told. The story has been told, Pappy. So if you want to know why I'm not voting for Trump, that's why. But here's why it's a positive, though. Trump works for MAGA. MAGA doesn't work for Trump. So MAGA, are you voting for Trump? You have an opportunity to tell him that's not going to work. If I were DeSantis, I would come out immediately. You haven't heard DeSantis do that. DeSantis has a quote from 2017 bigging up Christopher Wray. But if I were DeSantis, I would come out right now and say, I'm not for Christopher Wray. I was at one point, but we've seen him do this, this, and this. Actually, Pedro Gonzalez laid it all out. We kind of know, but in September, the George Floyd stuff, Wray said about the T group, the ANT, and then the Tifa group. He said it's not a group or organization, it's a movement or an ideology. That alone is disqualifying. That alone should get you fired. That's some old leftist woke talking point about that T group. It's not a group or organization. What the hell are you talking about? It's just an idea. He went with the just an idea line. The head of the FBI that you appointed. And I don't know. So this isn't a negative thing. You prove to me, people on the other side say it is a cult of personality. You can prove to me that it's not by telling Trump, don't say that stuff again. You guys, you did it with he didn't change his position on the jabs, but you still did it when you there was that booing or that silence when he was like bigging up the jab. You ain't never heard him. Since that rally, he hasn't bigged up the jab at all. He's been talking about freedoms and all that. He hasn't changed his position, but at least you controlled him a little bit. You got to get back word to him. Bro, we're not holding it against you if you go after him, but we will hold it against you if you say, I think it was a mistake. He's behind all this. All this stuff he's the director behind all this stuff. Wray told the Homeland Security Committee that people subscribing to some kind of white supremacist type ideology is certainly the biggest chunk of terrorism, while he said the T group is an ideology. Trump, you have to make a statement. If you want to know why I'm not against Trump and I'm not voting for him, just take a look at that clip. There is 0% chance I'm voting for Trump with that take on Christopher Wray. All that one-liner, those Arnold Schwarzenegger, in the 90s type movie one-liners about the deep state. We got to eliminate the deep state's going to eliminate us if we don't eliminate the deep state. And you can't call out Christopher Wray? He's not even close to the deep state. He's not even close. The deep state laughs at this dude. The Mayorkas, Wray, Buttigieg, Biden, they're all expendable to the deep state. They're nothing to the deep state. They're as valuable as a screwdriver in your tool deck. You can go ask your neighbor for a screwdriver. You can use a knife as a screwdriver. These guys are just tools, expendable, that can be replaced at the drop of a dime. 50, you can go down to your local store and get another Christopher Wray. And he can't even call him a name. You can't even call him Christopher Wayward, or I don't know what the nickname is. You're the guy that makes the nicknames. You sound so weak, and I don't know. Maybe he was a mistake. I need that lion. I need the lion. That's not the lion. So it's not. I'm not against Trump, but people need to go let him. We need that roar. We don't need that. Christopher Wray. You sounded like Merrick Garland for a second. Why did Donald Trump sound like Merrick Garland? Why you sound so defensive?
I wanted to have somebody in there that everybody, including the other side, really wanted. It may not have been the right move. Let's see. Time will tell, okay? But I wanted to have somebody in the FBI because I'm an honorable.
And then he goes on and says, who recommended him? Like, what is this? It gets worse.
Guy. I'm an honest guy. I may have made a mistake, but I put somebody in that the other side,
Now, I will acknowledge for Trump, that's a very big admission, but I'm not doing this on a Trump scale. Yeah, for Trump, for him to say I maybe made a mistake is a pretty big deal. He doesn't say that, but he's not projecting the right energy. I think the energy is about the big part of it too. You mentioned Christopher Wray. I need to see you get amped up.
Everybody agreed to. You know who recommended him to me? Chris Christie.
Okay, what do you want? That makes it worse, Pappy. Grandpappy, that makes it worse. Chris Christie recommended him to you? Why are you bringing that up?
Okay, he recommended him. And that's okay. I don't mind that. I've taken Chris Christie.
And it is good that he listens to different people. So that I do like that. But yeesh. Yikes. MAGA, let me know. Let me know if he controls you or you control him. That next rally, I need to hear lock up Christopher Wray as a chant. I don't want to hear nothing about Hillary C. She's irrelevant right now. Lock him up. Lock him up. I mean, not that I don't mean that literally, but you know what I mean, that type of energy. Like bring that to, and Trump will feed off of that. He feeds off of what the people, and he'd be like, oh, okay, you all want that. Okay. Now I'll go on Christopher Wray. I don't need to hear anything about DeSantis. I don't need to hear anything about John Bolton. Well, you're going to get out John Bolton. I don't need to hear anything for sure. I don't want to hear anything about DeSantis. I don't want to hear one bad word about DeSantis until you handle your business with Dr. Mengele and all them. I need nicknames out the yin yang. Otherwise, you're confusing me. And if the Libertarian Party wants to go at Trump, that's where you got your opening right there. They went after Trump, kind of accusing him as being like a globalist, but there's no solid proof of that. You got him right now not admitting that Christopher Wray was a mistake. Libertarian Party, this is when you at Jack Posobiec. You've got it right there. There's no comeback for that. If you want to go at Jack, I still don't say go at Jack. You don't need to do that. What you did with the Restrict Act, that probably recruited more MAGA to your side than anything else. It's not smart to go at Jack, period. There's no need to do it. But if you want to, it's right there. I don't know who's running the Mises Caucus account, Libertarian account. There's your door. It's right there for you to walk through if you want to take it. I don't want you to, but you've got it right there. Let me know what you say in the chat. It's the narcissist Canon Hotep. He's right. And it takes, Canon Hotep has the comment, it's the narcissist in him. And that's partly why he's the dude. And I replied and I talked to, Jesse Kelly was saying, hey, nobody's going to vote for Trump because of the pandemic. And I was like, nah, he's a political, cultural force of nature. He's a tsunami. He's a political and cultural and social tsunami like we've never seen before. The Fauci thing, the pandemic, the Christopher Wray, he's still going to get through the primary because he's a force that's bigger than even all of that. So part of it's because he's a narcissist. But, MAGA looks at him like he's our narcissist. So I don't blame you. I'm not against you. I don't blame you. But that ain't going to work for me. I like the Schedule F stuff where he's going to clean out the administrative state. But let me go to this life lesson. This is a 15-second TikTok. And it's a life lesson. I think it's a valuable life lesson. A lot of these TikToks are fake, phony. Who cares? Just as a topic of discussion. Why do you think they get millions of views? Because it doesn't matter if they're fake or phony. It's a good topic of discussion. And this is a TikTok, 15 seconds. I'll describe it. You're not going to be able to follow it without description. Bro loses his girlfriend at Rolling Loud. So his girl, there's this dude looking like a sad puppy in a second.
Bro loses his girlfriend.
So they having a good time. So right now the video starting out with some, black dude with a blonde mohawk on top of some boxes or whatever. And looks like he's a DJ or I don't know what he's doing or dancing or something. And there's a girl in an awkward position. To me, that's a awkward position where her head's right around his banana. She's facing the other way though, but that's still something to note.
And at Rolling Loud.
So now her face is facing his banana, looking up at the eggplant. So if that's your girl, that's a problem. Okay. I don't know what else to tell you. That's not acceptable. It's not even like your girl's just dancing with a dude. Your girl's sitting on a bunch of, I don't know if I can do the visual justice. If this is on the podcast, I'm on podcasts, Apple's, whatever, wherever you get your podcast, basically. If you're going to have to jump on over to the YouTube or Rumble stream, search Middle MAGA on YouTube. This girl's sitting on a bunch of boxes wearing, she looks like the 90s right now, wearing like some flare belt, wide leg pants, black boots, and she almost looks like Aaliyah. It's a white girl, but she's dressed like Aaliyah in the 90s with like a shirt on top of like a sports bra looking type top. I don't even know women's clothing. But it's like a two-piece. She's showing her, a high, midriff or whatever. But at this point, her face is looking up at a dude, and she's right by his midsection. So I don't know wherever else. This is I'm 5 seconds in, and there's problems. I love TikTok so much to unpack in 15 seconds. Bro loses his girlfriend at Rolling Loud. 1.1 million views.
That's your girlfriend?
That's your girlfriend?
No way. That's your girlfriend?
So I don't know if it's set up or what, but this dude comes through like, because it's just not a good position. And he's looking like, is that your girlfriend? It came across like he knew the dude and was like, is that Becky? Isn't that your girl? I'm laughing, but it's not funny, but it is funny. Is that your girl? Is that girl looking like is that your girl looking like she about to peel a banana with her mouth? I thought that was your girl.
Loud.
Yeah. No way. That's your girlfriend?
You look like her. And then the camera pans over to the saddest looking bruh I've ever seen in my life. I've never seen a bruh it's pixelated. It's not really a good quality video. But I mean, he looked like his dog just died. Like he just saw his dog get hit by a car. If they're acting, this is the best acting. This is some of the best acting I've ever seen. Like facial acting is very hard. So if this is not a real, which it could be fake, I mean, he looks like he's crying, like he's right about to cry.
No. Bro, end it.
And then he puts up his hands like, what do you want me to do?
End it, bro. Oh.
Everybody else is like, end it, bro. Bro, I wouldn't have been like, end it, bro. I'd be like, bro, it's ended. It's already ended. It's done. And then she gets up, her back is facing whoever this dude is. And now she's just dancing, but I mean, the whole thing is awkward.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, she's.
Bro loses his girlfriend at Rolling Loud.
Yeah. No way. That's your girlfriend? No. Bro, end it. End it, bro. Oh, damn.
Bro loses his girlfriend.
And I don't mean to laugh at it, but I don't know how I couldn't laugh at it. I hope he was able to laugh at it, because obviously they weren't that close. If she just saw some random black dude with a blonde mohawk and just thought like it's time, they obviously weren't that close. She was facing the dude so she could see he looked like his puppy had just passed away in front of him, and she didn't care. She was like, this groove is going to get on right now. I thought she was about to do that dude right there on the cardboard boxes. And I hope he can laugh at it, because he learned a valuable lesson. That applies to me or anybody else. It's male, female, anybody else. You can lose your mate at the drop of a dime. When you look at National Geographic videos, when you see the bucks fighting, what are the bucks fighting over? They're fighting over a girl. I'm not saying to fight over. I would have been like, good, information is good information, bye fee. But it's good information, and that's just part of nature. That quickly. Well, you weren't as tight as you thought you were. That was awkward, man. That was if that's a real video, that was awkward, man. That was so awkward. You see why I think TikTok is amazing. I don't really see those videos on other platforms. You get rid of TikTok, maybe you get it on Instagram. I don't go on Instagram. I don't like Meta at all. I mean, in a weird way, I like, how I feel about the CCP. I feel admiration, I respect and all that, but they're in front of me at best, enemy at worst. They don't like my black ass. You want to talk about racism? Go over to China. You find some old school racism. You find some Democrats, Dixiecrat, Joe Biden in the 70s type racism in China. Even more vicious than that. Like real racism. Like racist just to be racist, not even to really control you. Democrats were racist to control you. I don't even know if they're really racist. I think they just wanted to control people with dark skin. I don't even think they have ideology like that, like at the higher levels. In China, they just do it for fun, allegedly. And this is coming from the government and maybe some people over there too. You want to see racism that I would agree is racism? Go look up some stuff you've seen in China. And I'm fine with it. If you want to be racist, go do you. I just won't be around you. I'll be Scott Adams. I don't need to be around you. But, you know, even with all that, I mean, in a weird way, if I had to ban a company, I'm just thinking this live right now. Maybe I'll change my mind. I would rather ban Meta than TikTok. Maybe it's because it's supposed to be an American company and how disgusting they are. It almost hurts more. Maybe that's why, but I'd rather ban Meta. I'd sign a bill to ban Meta before I signed a bill to ban TikTok. I understand where the CCP is coming from. I'd rather go to the devil I know than this dude, the middleman devil. Meta wants to get rid of CCP so they can get my data, the same data that TikTok's collecting, so they can sell it back to the CCP. I'd rather just cut out the middleman. Bitch ass, get out of here, Zuckerberg, and your disgusting platform censoring people. I understand why the CCP is censoring people. They hate the country. They want to take over the world, and they think they have a better system to take over the world. Joe Biden agrees. That's why they're the middleman to the CCP. So that's TikTok. There's some good stuff. There's this one. This one I think is absolutely staged. There's another one where it's not really violent, but it's not. There's a slap in it. But let me see if I can find that one real quick. I think it was. This one's been going viral for a minute. Some people on that last one with the girlfriend said they were going to put hands on that dude. Man, why? For what? Put hands on the dude because your girl was the one grinding on him. So you just need to leave her. Just go home. They both look like. That's kind of funny how the 90s are coming back. Dan Plemick said they both look 90s. He looks like a kid and play backup dancer. He really did, just with a little bit of a tinge, a tweak to it. They both look like they came straight out the 90s, which is, I like that. I like things were more simple back then. They probably don't have the 90s mentality, but things were more simple back then. But this is another short video. This one is fake. So I just flat out said, pretend this is real. Some people, you're coming in the chat. What is this, Richard? You have to go back in the chat a little bit. This is just a video of a guy who got his girl snatched. I actually think that's a real video. If they were acting, then they did a hell of a job. Props to them. This one is fake, though, in my opinion. Who knows? I don't even know anymore. This is a video with a woman wearing leggings. It's a very good discussion. 17-second video. Good thing. A lot of things to break down in this video, in my opinion. So this is a woman, and this is the typical pear-shaped body that's real popular. That's a nice way of saying overweight, fat. But I don't want to be disrespectful. Doesn't matter. I'm trying to get right. It's no disrespect. But she's overweight. And what they try to do is put the leggings on and, put it in a way to make the waist look small. And then you got the ass poking out. Well, it's okay. Nothing bad about that. You can be attracted to it. And so she's just, it's staged, but she's just standing there looking at her phone, and she's in leggings, and leggings are bad enough. Well, depending on your perspective, leggings might be the greatest thing that ever happened to fashion. But if it's your girl, then it might be the worst thing if you get your girl snatched. If you go into Rolling Loud and your girl's wearing leggings and then some dude with a blonde mohawk snatches her like right quick, maybe it's a bad thing. But it's deeper than leggings if you get your girl snatched. Here's a pro tip. If you get your girl snatched, don't look like your dog just died. Have some more dignity than that. In my opinion, I think your emotions are fine to have. I would remove myself from the situation and have my emotions show somewhere else. Don't be out there like that. But so this woman is just there on her phone. It's scandalous. There's no doubt about it. Let's not pretend, women, that this is just like, okay, you got white leggings on. Yeah, white legging. It shows. I mean, it's basically like skin. So you're basically showing the nudity. But here's a big takeaway from this. There is no excuse. She's wearing clothes. There's no excuse. So dude comes up to her.
I can tell that ass fake as fuck on God.
he says, I can tell that ass fake on God. No, it's not fake. It's a lot of Five Guys in there. There's some McDonald's fries in there. There's a couple cheesecakes in there. I don't think it's fake. I think it's real. And if it is fake, she done messed up. She didn't need to do any of that. So it's some lard in there. There's nothing fake about the ass. But let's move along.
I can tell that ass fake as fuck on God.
Nah, it's not fake. You can tell when it's fake. Whatever.
Fake as fuck on God.
He said, I can tell that ass fake as fuck on God. With the classic matching Versace purple, like, that style. That's an old school style now to me.
You heard what I said. That ass definitely.
She said, what? She's like, what the F you said? He's like, you heard what I said?
You heard what I said. That ass definitely fake as fuck.
What the fuck you think you're talking to?
Bankums?
Damn, I'm on the phone.
Then she goes, Bankums? Right upside his head. It's fake. But he's like, what you doing? I'm on the phone.
On the fucking phone, girl. What the fuck wrong with you? Don't put your fucking hand on me. Bro, what the fuck wrong with her? What the fuck?
So people doing fake stuff like this got 1 million, just on Twitter, much less other platforms, probably got well over 10 million views if you look at all the platforms. And I think, but it's still, why does it get a lot of views? Because it's a point of discussion. Your woman, it doesn't matter if she's wearing white leggings, scandalous looking outfit. That does not, pretend it's real. That does not give you any type of right to come up and be disrespectful. There could be a lot of lessons learned. You don't know if her man's like right across the way and is willing to put hands on you or what. And then the other side of it is, as a woman, there is no excuse for putting hands. Even if he was disrespectful, you can say what the F or whatever, walk away, but there is no excuse for putting hands. So if pretend it was real, she's in the wrong there too. They're both in the wrong. Look at that. You can learn a lot. 30 seconds of TikTok and like your life lessons, like Aesop fables. Basically any TikTok can be like Aesop fable, especially the short ones. TikTok is letting people do 10-minute videos now, if you didn't know, but that platform isn't for that. It's just not appealing to me on that I like long form. I prefer long form, but that's not the platform for long form, at least for me. Maybe it will, with time, grow into that. I don't know. But it made for good discussion. Why do you think those videos have so many views? It's not an accident. I was going to say, Michael, pause. I always want to be careful with these because I feel like the Obamas are a family that are approaching the Clintons when it comes to power and influence. And, you wonder what happened. Like, what happened to Joan was so funny. And not funny, but awkward.
The wedding in New York yesterday. Is this like a new cottage?
Shortly after this infamous clip, Joan Rivers passed away after plastic surgery.
A career move for you?
I'm so excited.
Okay.
And I should do very well because I don't charge.
And do you think that the United States will see the first gay president or the first woman
we
president?
already have it with Obama, so let's just calm down.
Got it.
You know Michelle is a
I'm sorry, she's a what?
A transgender. We all know.
Oh my gosh.
Oh gosh. It's okay.
It's okay. And she was being very acceptant of it. I'm just playing the clip for educational purposes. Barack and Michelle Obama say they understand and support the trans community. I would just say no surprise there. I'm not gonna go any further than that today. I will say I want Michelle Obama to run for president. Please do. She's the best one they have. She makes for the best content. I mean, that would be so lit. I'm going to talk about that probably every day. Michelle Obama, I need you to run for president. Especially with how woke things have gotten. She's going to be she was already woke. She's going to be super woke. And that would make for some very, very interesting points of discussion. You probably hear Joan Rivers a lot. Joan Rivers was trending on Twitter. So there is some things that are different because I don't believe I ever saw that before. I don't think I ever saw that before. I didn't criticize Tucker Carlson, but I talked about thinking through when you talk about things being ugly or not. Tucker Carlson had a great clip. I'll play it here, 15-second clip where he talked about, leftism basically turning things, or bad ideas is what he said, turning beautiful things into ugly things. And I think it's worth noting. So this is a group of, people are using the term transurrectionist. So you can call them, if you call J6ers insurrectionists, then the other side is going to call you insurrectionist, even though they don't believe you really are. Libs of TikTok said a group of insurrectionists occupied the Kentucky state capitol today to protest kids not being able to get sex change surgeries anymore. It's a fair description. You kind of look at it, and the first thing, I'll show you the protest here. So they want trans rights, and I still ask, I don't know what that means. I'm all for trans rights under the umbrella of American rights. Rights for all citizens. There's no rights specific for trans people that need to be spelled out, in my opinion. But, when you start spelling them out for black people or whatever, this group or that group, then any group can argue for it. It's a matter of, do you have the political power to get whatever you want? And that's what they're looking to do. So this is the American way. Whether you agree with them or not, this is the American way. And they have signs here saying you mess with the wrong generation. Trans people belong. I mean, nobody said that they didn't. Black Lives Matter somehow. That's so odd. How you feel about that, blackity blacks? They in here with trans flags, and then in the back they say Black Lives Matter. What the hell does that have to do with your black ass? I don't know. Protect trans kids. Trans rights are human rights. We probably would agree on a lot of things, but they're amped up. But my biggest takeaway from this, shut it down. So we're beyond the point of being able to even communicate with each other, but they're worried about a new bill that could be coming up in Kentucky. And on these protests, it's just striking. They're not attractive people. They don't look right. I'm sorry. They look disheveled. Most of them look disheveled. They're wearing muzzles. The hair is all over the place. They don't look. It doesn't look like if you didn't have the signs, I didn't know what they were about. I don't want to judge people based on their looks. I'm not judging a book by its cover, but let's talk about the cover. I'm not going to judge them as people based on the cover. But there is a cover to the book. And it's not pretty. It's ugly. It is worth noting it's a natural instinct as well for people, I think, for animals to look at something and analyze, is it dangerous, is it not? They do look dangerous to me. They don't look, it's not a group that I would want to associate based on looks, just for me. And Tucker said this.
I also say that bad ideas produce chaos. They produce disorder. They produce noise. They produce ugliness, physical ugliness, aesthetic ugliness. Bad ideas produce ugly things. I also say that...
Okay. I agree with that. I want to think through things more critically than that, but no lies detected. So with that in mind, take a look. And it's all a matter of perspective, but it's not appealing visually. It's concerning to me. And somebody replied to me something about like I was ugly. I was like, okay, that's true. What does that have to do with my take? It's a group of, I can't say anything else, a group of unattractive, disheveled looking people. And that's a concern. Impressions matter. First impression matters. I'm not going to make any judgments on them. I'm not against them. It's not that I don't have the general love for fellow citizens, but it is the first observation when I look at these things. And it's not just that, this is not one thing. That's all of them. You look back at the Alex Stein one. I mean, this is not an attractive group. And I'm not going to ignore that. I'm not ignoring it. Something's off there. And I think it might be a way of trying to redefine what's beautiful and what's not. I think that's part of what they're doing. They don't want to look like a traditional Western idea of family and beauty and values. So I don't think it's an accident. Because you can do blue hair. There's plenty of people with blue hair that look good or, don't look disheveled. That's a whole different thing when you are looking like that. Unkept. It's just, I played the Alex Stein video, and I see it here as well. I'll play it one more time. Just don't even need the sound, really, but he starts with the get off me. He's 6'3" or 4, I believe. He's a big dude. I would say as things get hairy, I don't know if Alex Stein's going down to this. I don't know where this trans day of whatever they're doing is going. I would say be very careful. These are very dangerous people. But look at these are not attractive people. They do not fall in the realm of, like, if you saw these on Tinder, you're not swiping right. I'm not swiping right. I'll speak for myself. Look at this. It's just not a good-looking group of people. And that's you can be, I've done video, you can be trans, you can be whatever and still look kept or good. That has nothing to do with it. Look at this. They don't even look right. I mean, physically looking like monsters to me. It's every single one I see. That's the first thing. I just want to start with the first thing that I see. And I think that's a natural instinct. Spidey sense just tingling, just looking at the group.
Spider sense start tingling.
So do with that what you may. But I think it is a point of discussion. I think it's fair to bring up, and I think it's worth discussing. So I started out with Jamaal Bowman and Thomas Massie. And I'm now going to go on to my top 10 presidential list. So I've got a new top 10 list. I'm just going to go through it real quick here. At number 10 for president, who I would vote for right now, would be Tulsi Gabbard. I think she's excellent. She's balanced. Of course, I'm not going to agree with everybody on everything. Number 9, Vivek Ramaswamy has really stepped up. Played some clips from him. I like how he presents himself. I know I'm still learning. He's probably I don't know much about him, but I'm putting him on the list. He's actually running for president, so I think that helps. And I've liked a lot what he's said, not just on the Trump stuff, but all over the place. Very good stuff. I like where he's pulling the Overton window. So do your thing, Vivek. I'm very happy to see that. Number 8, Dr. Shiva Arude. He's got the energy. He's got the courage. He's been on the forefront of a lot of these issues. Number 7, Tucker Carlson is on my who I would vote for president list. Number 6, Lieutenant Colonel Allen West. Talk about somebody I respect, someone who demands respect, somebody who has the presence, courage, and is the alpha leader. That's Lieutenant Colonel Allen West. Number 5, Jimmy Dore. I'm a big Jimmy Dore fan, if you don't know. The highest leftist on the list, Jimmy Dore. Number 4, Kathy Barnett, Kathy for Truth. I am a big supporter of her. I think she has the presence, the leadership. She has the whole package. She is just highly impressive. People might have forgotten about her because she's faded away from the Senate race, but she's doing other things. Matt Gaetz is my number 3. And then my number 2 is Carrie Lake. Number 1 is comic Dave Smith for president. So I just talked about how I wouldn't vote for Pappy Don, but I'm not going to lie. If he picks Kerry Lake as his VP, then even if he doesn't make the right course corrections, it's weird to vote for somebody because of the VP pick, but that would be a very strong. Kerry Lake's considering a Senate run as well. I would rather her go for VP than Senate. So that's my top 10 updated. Who left that list? Thomas Massey's off the list. Not anything he did. He's just not the alpha type, I think, for that. Who else would I have on there? Oh, I had Josh Hawley on there, and I like Josh Hawley, but I don't like the TikTok ban stuff. I don't think his energy's in the right place with that. So I have removed Josh Hawley, even though he's great. No, nothing against Josh Hawley. I've just removed him from the list. I think those were the big ones. I moved people up and down or whatever, but I like, you know who I like a lot is Harriet Hageman. I think she's great. I mean, she's one I'm really looking at, and believe it or not, I wouldn't take her. She'd be in my top 20 list if I had to go out that far. So, yeah. We had another viral moment with when Lloyd Austin and them have to go up in front of Matt Gaetz. I don't think they like that. And Matt Gaetz had another viral moment going up with Lloyd Austin and General Milley. He grilled him. If you haven't seen this, we're going to have to watch this and talk about it. Matt Gaetz doing his thing again. Great stuff here.
You told Senator Schmidt yesterday that if the 8,000 plus service members who've been separated from the military due to the vaccine mandate want to reapply, that they're welcome to do so, but that you would do nothing to solicit their reapplication or to incentivize it. Why is that?
I think it's incumbent upon the individual to make that decision and reapply. The mechanisms are there.
Yeah, but why don't,
He didn't answer the question. Matt Gaetz is asking him, you did this mandate and you kicked people out of the service. We need people like crazy right now. Why aren't you actively? We're paying money to recruit people right now. Well, you can use some of that recruitment money to try to re-recruit people that you well, I don't know if it's constitutional, but you shouldn't have let go that you did. No brainer. You're recruiting people anyway. These are people who are already serving and they didn't want to leave, that you kicked them out.
You would do nothing to solicit their reapplication or to incentivize it. Why is that?
I think it's incumbent upon the individual to make that decision and reapply. The mechanisms are there.
That didn't answer the question. Why are you not, you're already recruiting, why are you not recruiting them? They would be a higher priority, you would think. They already know what's going on. They're not new. They probably don't need to be retrained as much. They've already been in the service. You didn't answer the question, sir. Matt Gaetz, one of the only people who steps to these guys.
I think it's incumbent upon the individual to make that decision and reapply. The mechanisms are there.
Yeah, but why don't, you're overseeing a recruiting nightmare in our military right now. These are 8,000 patriots. And by the way, your department broke the law in administering the vaccine mandate. And that's not me saying so. That's the Inspector General for the Department of Defense who wrote on June 2nd of 2022, we found a trend of generalized assessments rather than the individualized assessment that is required by federal law.
The department did not break the law.
So the DOD...
Just because you said you didn't break the law doesn't mean you didn't break the law.
So wait. You mean the IG is wrong? You think the IG is wrong?
Mandate
he says he broke the law.
The lives of a number of...
It ruined the lives of a number of people.
He said that it saved the lives going to that line. These are just politicians.
Too. And it ruined the lives of people who love our country and want to re-enlist. Let me ask you this question. If we direct you by force of law to re-engage and incentivize the re-enlistment of these folks with full back pay and rank, do you have the capability to follow that instruction?
You put provisions in the law to enable those people those former service members to reapply in accordance with the service.
Good. Well, we will do that just like we had to put the repeal of the vax mandate in the law. And I get the sense that the only reason you're not reaching out to these folks is pride, because otherwise.
That's not, he didn't go far enough there. It's pride. That's what you think, Matt? It's not about pride. These are the people who were not, who didn't bend the knee. These are the people that he, ex-Raytheon, Lloyd Austin, ex-defense, he was on the board of Raytheon. Let me double check to make sure that's accurate. He was Raytheon. He was, Austin left the public sector, assumed positions on the corporate boards of steel manufacturing giant Nucor Corporation, Tenet Healthcare, United Technologies, merged with defense contractor Raytheon Company in 2020. So ex-board of Raytheon Defense, you think it's pride. Matt, you know and I know it's not pride. These are the people who I wouldn't trust. These are the populists. These are the more likely to be Trump type guys.
Sense that the only reason you're not reaching out to these folks is pride, because otherwise they would be totally able to serve, and it seems that your personal pride is getting in the way. So going from the deeply serious things that we're not doing, re-engaging these 8,000 folks, to the deeply unserious things that we are doing, go ahead and put up the first slide. I guess my question is, how much taxpayer money should go to fund drag queen story hours on military bases?
You know, drag queen story hours is not something that the department funds.
Well, wait a second. That's actually not what the record seems to suggest. You were going to fund one at Ramstein Air Force Base. That one got canceled, but that's DOD insignia. That's a drag queen story hour for children.
This is our on a base, drag queen story hour. I'm going to transition from this topic to children. That's what this is all about. And that's at the core of it, of this trans issue. It's a battle over children. That's what it is.
And then also at Malmstrom Air Force Base outside of Great Falls, Montana, you had a drag queen story hour for kids. At the Joint Base Langley Eustis, you put on a drag queen story hour.
So you notice it's a drag queen story hour. Why isn't it a drag queen adult hour? Just do a drag queen show for adults. Why does it have to be family friendly? Why would you need to do a story hour for that? That'd be like Hooters, that we're doing a story hour at Hooters. Huh? There was a picture of that was going viral of a kid having a birthday party at Hooters. Kid looked like they were about 6 years old. And people on the left were like, why aren't you okay with this? Like, who said I was okay with that? That's some old weird nonsense. Nobody said, I didn't say I was okay with that. I am not okay with that. But, you do what, you do. If you want to take your kids to a drag queen story hour or Hooters birthday party. But it doesn't, you can have if you have a drag queen adult thing, then they ain't got nothing to do with, even on a military base. What they got to do with me? You doing your adult thing, you're having your adult fun. It's the story hour part that's concerning.
Hour on a Saturday for the first ever kid-friendly Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Summer Festival. And at Nellis Air Force Base, you had the Drag You Nellis on June 17th. Who funded these things, Mr. Secretary?
Listen, drag shows are not something that the Department of Defense supports or funds. So.
But wait, why are they happening on military bases?
They're on the military base. What do you mean you don't support or fund them?
I just showed you the evidence. Why are they happening?
I will say again, this is not something that we support or fund.
Well, so you think hosting a drag queen story hour on a military base isn't supporting the drag queen story hour?
Are y'all paying attention? This is Lloyd Austin, the one who became the first black Secretary of Defense. This is what you got for the first black secretary. That's why you want to know why I don't care about this black ass or your black ass here, this or this blackity black. You got the first black secretary. I believe he was the first black Secretary of Defense ever. Is that true? Let me double check that. Bio, Lloyd Austin became the first black Secretary of Defense. He was the first black. There's the black. We found one. We found a black one for you. How's that going on? What's the content behind the skin color? Drag queen story hours at your base. That's what's happening.
Listen, drag shows are not something that the Department of Defense supports or funds. So.
He might be blacker than me. We might have to we have to put our arms together or do one of those gene testing things or whatever. Find out who's blacker. He might be blacker than me. He might be one of the few blackety blacks that's blacker than me. I still don't give a damn.
Wait, why are they happening on military bases? I just showed you the evidence. Why are they happening?
I will say again, this is not something that we support or fund.
So in other words, he has no answer for this. Does that concern anybody else? Like if you're going to have a drag queen show at your base, at least be able to defend it. Like he didn't, you know what he didn't want to do? He didn't want to do, I want to understand trans rage. He didn't want to do the white rage version of that. So he stuck to his prepared statement that didn't answer any questions. It's more concerning that you can't defend it. If you can't defend it, then say, I'll look into it. You couldn't even lie and say, he couldn't even lie and say, you got a point, I'll look into it. All they have to do is say, I'll get back to you.
Well, so you think hosting a drag queen story hour on a military base isn't supporting the drag queen story hour?
I stand by what I just said.
But you may stand by it, but it's belied by the evidence over and over again. I mean, are you aware of the piece? Biden's military, Air Force Base in Montana holds drag queen story hour for kids in the Western Journal. Are you aware of that?
So it's fair. He's bringing up news articles. News articles are not proof, but he's bringing it up and saying, is this true?
Again, I will say what I've said before.
You're saying what you're saying, but I guess it just doesn't.
So you see how this woke stuff is not authentic. He can't authentically defend or discuss the topic. He had to stick to his prepared statement. Why? You go against the wrong woke idea, it has nothing to do with a trans person. We're talking about the government at the highest levels. If he goes against a woke ideology, the people who control this woke ideology will replace him with another screwdriver. He is replaceable. So that's why he's scared. Lloyd Austin is scared to death of this topic.
Comport the facts. General Milley, this will be my last time to question you. You mentioned 2 years ago that you wanted to better understand white rage. And so my question is this.
We're going over to General Milley and the classic white rage discussion. This is the famous, I should have that. How do I not have the drop of, I don't understand white rage? I love how his voice sounded too. It sounded so inauthentic. I want to understand white rage. I got to have that somewhere on here. Do I? I got to have that drop. I do have this one. What is it? I want to understand white rage. I do have it on here. It's so old that it got archived on my computer. That shouldn't be a hard clip to find. I want to find that first and then get over to this. So before it was, I want to understand white rage. Now listen to Milley now. Oh, now all I'm going to get are the newer ones. I want the old one. Okay, here we go. Is this it? There we go. Let's see. Hopefully the volume's good on this.
I want to understand white rage.
I love it.
And I want to understand it. Important that we train and we understand. And I want to understand white rage. And I'm white. And I want to understand it. Important that we train and we understand. And I want to understand white rage. And I'm white. And I want to understand it. Important.
So that's how it started.
From Florida, Mr. Gates.
And then
happening on military bases.
This is how it goes.
You think hosting a drag queen story hour on a military base is to better understand white rage? And so my question is this. Did you read this book?
No, not at all.
It is What is White Privilege is the book, and it's actually...
His tone is a lot different. Already you can hear his tone wasn't as... He probably looked back at it, someone talked to him, whatever. He's like, what's the smart thing? He's a strategic person. What's the smart way to play it? Don't let your ego get in the way. There's no need to get into a confrontation with Matt Gaetz. Even if you believe you want to understand white rage, it doesn't play well. So General Milley has a whole different energy now.
Actually written by a DOD official, a senior official in diversity, equity, and inclusion. And there are now hundreds of these books in dozens of schools. And I wonder if you guys connect this to your problems with recruiting.
I've never read it, never seen it. Frankly, I don't even think about that stuff. I think about
Put up the
readiness.
next.
Wait, what? Wait, he said I don't even think about that stuff. I thought you wanted to understand white
To
rage.
your problems with recruiting.
I've never read it, never seen it. Frankly, I don't even think about that stuff. I think about
Put up the
readiness.
next. Go ahead and put up the next
About the
slide.
readiness of the force.
Go ahead and put up the next slide, please.
He said the readiness of the force. I think he's covering up. I think he still wants to understand white rage from the standpoint of I'm corrupted by the CCP allegedly, but I'm not going to let that play out so I go viral again.
Okay, well, in the next slide, this is a tweet by one of your employees in charge of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and it's patently racist. They say that she had to give Karen the business, that she talks about caudacity, presumably of Caucasian people. So I guess,
Terrible.
why does the...
Look at that.
Well, why is that person
You're not
so
getting an
low?
argument from me. That's terrible. It's wrong. She shouldn't be doing that, period.
Should she be fired?
That's a DOD employee, not U.S. military uniform.
Should they be fired, Secretary Austin?
Again, as you heard in your subcommittee here, this incident was investigated and
they're
of course
still employed. Mr. Chairman, I have a series of unanimous consent requests since my time has expired.
Without objection.
First is Joint Base Langley Eustis holds drag show at kid-friendly festival. And the next is U.S. military defends drag show at largest training center as, quote, essential to morale. And the next is Nellis Air Force Base hosts first ever drag queen show, essential to morale and readiness. That's a Breitbart piece. And finally, Ramstein cancels library's drag queen story time for Pride Month following criticism.
Without objection, so ordered. Gentleman's time has expired.
Can I get copies of those? Because I'd like to take a look at those myself, actually. Take a look and find out what actually is going on there. Because that's the first I'm hearing about that kind of stuff. I don't read those news stories. I don't know what you're talking about. I'd like to take a look at those because I don't agree with those.
Well, they're now in the
those
official
things
record.
Shouldn't be happening. Period.
Thank you. Thank you for that admission.
Great.
I would like to point out, Chairman, that our students in Dodea schools scored the highest on the 8th graders and 4th graders scored the highest in math and reading in the country. So I want to thank all of our Dodea professionals who made that possible, and I encourage them to keep it up.
I hope you're.
I'm sure that it's the drag queen story hour that's helping their education. That energy was real different. I'm gonna be out with this one. This just came out. The QAnon shaman. He just got released to a halfway house. So he got released 14 months early from prison after J6 footage, and some people think he's paid op or controlled opposition. I don't know. But he got released. Jacob Chansley, 35, was released on Thursday after serving 27 months in prison. He had been sentenced to 41 after pleading guilty. His move to the halfway house appears to be a matter of routine prison policy. So people are asking, like, is this because of the video or what? I don't know. I have no idea, but it's just an interesting thing to note. Federal inmates can receive a 15% reduction in their prison sentence for good behavior and can also serve the final 12 months in halfway houses at the discretion of the Bureau of Prisons. So we'll see. I don't think they would admit if it had anything to do with the video, but it doesn't look like it necessarily did. But thanks a lot for stopping by. I have many other topics on my mind. We'll see if I have time to get some more uploads. Appreciate you. Everybody who's been a member of the channel. I think I got over 10 members of the channel now. I haven't really even been pushing it. I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to do for content. I might make all the lives members only $1 a month through YouTube. But I appreciate everybody who signed up. Take care.